Once upon a time, on a bright and sunny afternoon, a little girl named Alice sat by a river with her sister. The air was warm, and the soft sound of the water made her feel sleepy. But Alice was not just any girl. She had a heart full of curiosity and a mind full of dreams. As she sat there, suddenly, something very strange happened. A white rabbit, wearing a coat and holding a pocket watch, ran past her. "Oh dear! Oh dear! I shall be late," the rabbit said, hurrying away. Alice blinked in surprise. A rabbit with a coat and a watch? She had never seen anything like it. Her heart beat fast with excitement. Without thinking, she jumped up and ran after the rabbit. It disappeared into a hole in the ground, and before Alice knew it, she was falling deep, deep down into the rabbit hole. The fall seemed to last forever. She passed bookshelves, floating candles, and strange pictures on the walls. Finally, she landed gently on the ground. She looked around and found herself in a long, strange hallway with many doors of different sizes. "Oh my! Where am I?" Alice whispered to herself. She tried to open the doors, but they were all locked. Then she saw a small golden key on a glass table. She picked it up and found a tiny door behind a curtain. She tried the key. It fit. But when she opened the door, she saw a beautiful garden with bright flowers, shining fountains, and butterflies dancing in the air. "Oh, how lovely! But I am too big to fit through this door," she sighed. Just then, she noticed a small bottle on the table with a tag that said, "Drink me." Alice hesitated but then thought, why not? She took a small sip. Suddenly, she began to shrink. Smaller and smaller she became until she was just the right size to fit through the door. With a smile, she stepped into the magical garden, full of wonder and adventure. As she walked, she met many strange and wonderful creatures. There was a smiling cat who could disappear and appear again, a talking caterpillar who asked deep questions, and a silly Mad Hatter who had a never-ending tea party. Each of them taught Alice something new. But her biggest adventure was yet to come. One day, she came to a great palace where the Queen of Hearts ruled. The queen was fierce and shouted, "Off with their heads," at anyone who made her angry. Alice saw that people were scared of the queen, but she did not feel afraid. The queen invited Alice to play a game of croquet, but it was the strangest game Alice had ever seen. Instead of balls, they used hedgehogs, and instead of mallets, they used flamingos. Alice laughed. "This is the silliest game ever." The queen turned red with anger. "How dare you laugh at my game? Off with her head!" Everyone gasped, but Alice stood tall. She looked around and saw that everyone was afraid of the queen, not because she was powerful, but because they let fear control them. Alice took a deep breath and said, "You have no power over me." This is just a dream, and I am not afraid." As soon as she spoke these words, the world around her started to spin. The palace, the queen, and all the strange creatures began to fade. Alice's eyes opened, and she found herself back by the river, her sister still reading beside her. She sat up, confused. Was it all just a dream, she wondered. But then she smiled because deep inside her heart, she knew that Wonderland was real in its own way. Alice had learned something important. Life is full of strange and wonderful things. Sometimes, the world may not make sense, and people may try to tell you what to do or who to be. But the most important thing is to stay curious, brave, and true to yourself. Alice looked at the sky, feeling happy and strong. She had faced fear, met new friends, and learned the magic of believing in herself. And so, her adventure in Wonderland might have ended, but her adventure in life had just begun. Life is a wonderland if you dare to explore it. If you enjoyed this beautiful and magical journey, make sure to like and subscribe for more wonderful stories and adventures. Your support helps bring more amazing stories to life. Keep dreaming, keep wondering, and never stop believing in the magic of your own heart. Sparkling Heart Sparkles. Alice sat by the river, her heart still filled with the magic of Wonderland. The gentle breeze touched her face, and she closed her eyes, trying to remember every detail of her adventure. The Cheshire Cat's mysterious smile, the Mad Hatter's laughter, the White Rabbit's worried little face, it all felt so real. She touched the grass beneath her fingers and whispered, "Was it really just a dream?" Her sister noticed her deep in thought and smiled. "Alice, you seem lost in another world." Alice looked up and said softly, "Maybe I was, but I think, in some way, I am still there." Her sister laughed. "You have the most wonderful imagination, Alice." But Alice knew it wasn't just imagination. Wonderland had changed her. It had taught her to look at life differently, to question things, to not be afraid of the unknown. It had taught her that even in the strangest places, there was beauty, kindness, and wisdom. As they walked home, Alice noticed things she had never really paid attention to before. The clouds looked like soft cotton candy, the trees whispered in the wind, and the birds sang songs that seemed to tell stories of their own. She thought about the Queen of Hearts, always shouting and demanding power. Alice realized something important. People who act angry or unkind are often the ones who are most afraid. The queen ruled by fear, but in the end, she had no real power. It was only because others let her control them. Alice smiled to herself. No one should ever let fear rule their hearts. That night, as Alice lay in bed, she stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. She remembered the Mad Hatter, always celebrating on birthdays. What a silly idea, or maybe it's not so silly at all, she whispered. Perhaps life should be celebrated every day, not just on birthdays. Perhaps happiness is not something we wait for, but something we create. She thought of the white rabbit, always running, always worried about time. Maybe we should all stop running sometimes, Alice thought. Maybe we should just enjoy where we are. Her eyes grew heavy, but before she fell asleep, she whispered one last thing to herself, a lesson from Wonderland: life is an adventure. The more curious you are, the more magic you will find. And with that, Alice drifted off to sleep, not knowing what dreams, or adventures, might come next. Dear listener, Alice's story is not just a tale. It is a reminder for all of us. In life, we will meet many kinds of people. Some will be kind, some will be wise, and some may try to make us afraid. But like Alice, we must always be brave, always be curious, and always believe in the magic of our own hearts. So tell me, dear friend, what kind of adventure will you go on next? What wonders will you find? If this story touched your heart, if it made you smile, if it made you think about life in a new way, then please like and subscribe. Your support helps bring more magical stories to life. Let's keep dreaming together. Sparkle, sparkling heart.